Hello everybody, welcome to this first attempt at a video blog. I really wanted to share the process and preparations in the weeks leading up to my very first art show that's happening in Paris this April. I had actually planned and booked the dates at the gallery before discovering that I was going to be leaving the city, so everything feels a lot more complicated than it was originally supposed to be. But long story short, you join me and my cat in this new chapter of our lives, having just moved from Paris to Nantes in the west of France and trying to get everything ready in time for the show. Now that I'm here, I think maybe despite all the stress and disruption, moving cities turned out to be good timing. Now I have a whole new town to discover and explore. I love walking along streets I don't know and finding inspiration in the little details, the shop signs and graffiti, things I come across on the pavement. I also love discovering art online, especially unknown and outsider artists that have been ignored and looked over. And I'm a huge fan of Botero. I'm working on an illustration that is inspired by one of his pieces for the show. So here's me at work. It's definitely not at all interesting to look at, but I find such a comfort in going into illustration mode. My brain just goes to this different place where I feel very calm and content, and I can stay there for hours. So the art show is going to be a mix of both digital illustrations that I've done on the iPad and a collection of handmade collage that I've been making over the last few years. I started getting interested in collage during lockdown because I found it very calming. I think there's nothing more elementary than cutting things out and sticking them down. Just a super simple activity that really brings joy and is so accessible to everybody. You can make collage out of literally anything. And over the last few years, I like to collect especially older magazines and reviews, and I started adding a poetic element, cutting out words and making poems and weird stories. Again, I love this place my brain goes to when I'm making collage, and often the best ones happen when my thoughts are completely elsewhere. Many times I'll read back a collage poem I've made and be so surprised and feel like it was something that really needed to come out of me and be expressed, but I'd have never found the words myself in a normal way of writing a song or poem, so it's a very fascinating activity to me.
Deal for Gaza. 3 days of talks with Hamas in Cairo have failed to reach a breakthrough on a truce. Jahrhunderte später besinnt sich der Ort wieder auf seine französischen Wurzeln.
Mich fasziniert, wie der Ton dort wandelt. Und die Tiere, die Strömungen nutzen.
An unavoidable part of being a sensitive, creative person is that there are those days. Those grey, unproductive, frustrating days where everything just feels too heavy, too overwhelming, and world events are just too terrible. and you start to question and doubt everything. What is the point of all this? Does art still matter and have a place in this dying world? Who will care for my dumb little drawings anyway? Is this project going to be as much a failure as the last one? Maybe I should just get a real job, one that pays the exact time I spend doing it, a simple task to repeat over and over like a postman or a baker. Why are the men of this world so keen on destruction and obsessed with power? Also, why are men? Why did I have that second coffee? When did I last have a good night's sleep? Maybe if I get better at social media, I could suddenly turn things around. Maybe if I cut a fringe? Okay, well, maybe just one more round of New York Times Sudoku and then I'm really gonna get down to it. Maybe I should just give up for today and get back into bed.
It's almost like it's killing me, physically killing me, because I want to be doing this. And I think also that's the reason why I could never have children, because I think obviously being a mum would be pretty amazing, but I don't think I'd be able to. I think I'd be maybe not a very good mum, or too good a mum, and not do. And then this all dies, and then I die, and then I'd be resentful and a horrible person.
Inside the gallery, there's this glass window panel that separates the two rooms, and I had this idea to do some collage on transparent paper that could be put up on that window and you'd still be able to see through. It's going to be two very big pieces full of collage poems and little paper talisman cutouts. This is the first one I made that's all in French, and the second I'll do in English. And what's really cool about doing it on the transparent paper is that for once the other secret side of the collage is also exposed, and the unwanted side of the paper becomes this second unintentional piece of work that has many surprises and oddities to it, and it almost becomes more interesting than intentional side when the unchosen images and words get their moment too.
I don't believe I did that whole thing.
Today's the last day before I send everything off to printers, so feeling extremely anxious, worried that nothing is good enough or that I could have added more details or done more. I would have really loved to do more illustrations, but that's what I got. But also excited to see everything on paper, because on a screen it doesn't really exist to me. It's a shame that I have not yet attempted to do real painting, because it must feel so nice to have a real canvas in front of you instead of a screen. I think one of the lessons I'm learning in this process is when to stop, or when to decide a piece is finished. It's so tempting to want to add more details and fill everything up and not have any space. I don't feel very comfortable with big spaces yet, even though a lot of the art that I love has that space. So learning when to just accept a piece is done is kind of challenging for me. Yeah, I guess that's pretty normal for music too, and art in general. Being a perfectionist, but knowing that perfection can't exist in art. There's no such thing as the perfect song or the perfect painting. Otherwise, we'd all just give up. So hopefully tomorrow when everything's sent off, I shall suddenly feel extremely calm, and I shall do all the things I've been neglecting while obsessing over my art. You've got this strange effect on me, and I like it. You've got this strange effect on me, and I like it. You make my world seem bright. You make my darkness bright. Oh yes, you've got this strange effect on me, and I like it. And I like it. And I like it. And I like So right now I'm preparing myself for a scenario where I have an art show and there's no art on the wall. Because the prints still aren't ready and I wasn't organized enough. Usually I really like to have everything meticulously planned and ready and organized in my head, but I wasn't prepared for how much back and forth with the printers, and I had to do the fanzine like 5 or 6 times to get it right. And so now I find myself waiting on these prints, and it's really important that they are ready because it's like a huge part of the show. I still have many collages that are going to be there too, but the illustration, I just like, it has to be there. It has to be there. So I cannot be the only artist who has done an art show with blank walls. There won't be blank walls. Everything will be fine. I'm also just like imagining nobody coming, and I've done all of this for I guess for myself, but also if people do come, that's terrifying, because what if I have to explain explain my art? Oh god, it's like handing over my notes app for people to scroll through the most private details of my life, except I have to watch them do it. So after an angst-ridden few days of waiting, the fanzines and the prints finally arrived. I was a little disappointed because I had specifically asked the printers for a test copy of the zine so that I could make sure I was happy with everything, but they went ahead and printed everything at once, and there were some errors, but I decided to go ahead with it because time was really not on my side at that point. And as for the prints, I was pretty happy with the quality and the colors in general, and mostly just relieved that now I had things to put on the wall and fill all the space. And yeah, it was exciting to finally have them in front of me, and everything was starting to feel real.
We'll have nothing in the gallery. I said, look, Ray, we could do nothing if we were downtown, but uptown I don't think we could do nothing. Now the thing is that you never knew whether Ray was really going to do nothing or whether his nothing was one of his nothings, because he did these performances and they were called nothings.
The first 2 days of the exhibition, we were really lucky with the weather. Many friends came to hang out in the sunshine, and a fair few passers-by would come in curiously to the gallery to look around. But the days after brought extreme April showers and crazy hailstorms, and anyone passing was just struggling with their umbrella in the wind and running to find shelter, so there were a lot less visits inside, which was pretty tough luck. But I did at least manage to capture enough passing dogs for a Parisian special Dog of the Day montage, so I hope you will enjoy. And so before I knew it, it was time to clean my name off the window and take everything back down and return home to Nantes, having not had a huge success, but at least some really nice comments and support, and knowing I had achieved my personal goal of just doing it. I couldn't help but feel empty now that it was all over, but finishing a project and releasing it always comes with this painful emptiness at the end. And I think that hole is a necessary place for where the ideas and desires for the next project start to flourish. So it's all part of the creative cycle.